It was 2:14 a.m. when the scream sliced through the silence of Crestwood, Virginia. Not a sharp, panicked cry. No, it was low, muffled, like someone trying to scream with a hand clamped over their mouth. Inside a quiet suburban home on Renfield Lane, the hallway lights flicked on with a soft click. 8-year-old Liam Carter stood outside his parents' bedroom door, clutching a baseball bat almost too heavy for his small hands. His heart pounded so loud he could hear it in his ears. He whispered, "Mom." No answer. Half the neighborhood was asleep. The other half would swear later they heard something, but convinced themselves it was a fox, the wind, or their imagination. That's how Crestwood was: peaceful, safe, predictable, a place where crime lived on TV, not in backyards. When the police arrived 9 minutes later, the front door was still locked from the inside. No signs of forced entry. No broken windows, no footprints outside in the frost-kissed yard, but the master bedroom was a crime scene frozen in silence. Rebecca Carter, the mother, was gone. Not a trace, no blood, no note. No struggle, at least not one the eye could see. Her husband, Daniel Carter, sat on the edge of the bed, trembling, staring at the floor like someone had pressed mute on his soul. The only clue, a single white origami crane placed on Rebecca's pillow. Detective Avery Quinn, who had investigated 87 disappearances in her career, had never seen anything like this. No ransom call, no digital trail, no intruder on security cameras, just a missing woman. And a paper bird folded with surgical detective. Avery Quinn had worked hundreds of crime scenes in her 12 years with Fairfax County PD, but something about the Carter house made her skin tighten. Not because of what was found, but because of what wasn't. No blood, no struggle, no broken lock, no sign of entry, and yet, one human being had vanished. The master bedroom smelled faintly of perfume and freshly washed sheets. The covers on Rebecca Carter's side were slightly dented, as if someone had sat there only moments before disappearing. The white origami crane rested on the pillow like a signature whispered instead of written. Avery stared at it. Something about the angles bothered her. It wasn't a child's fold. It was too exact, deliberate, like a ritual or a message only the sender understood. The forensics tech slid it into an evidence bag with tweezers. One piece of paper in a house full of silence. Daniel Carter, the husband who didn't wake Daniel, sat in the kitchen now, wrapped in a blanket, a mug of untouched coffee cooling in front of him. His hands trembled when he tried to speak. "I didn't hear her leave. I don't understand what's happening." His voice cracked, but his eyes were strangely distant, like he was searching his memory for something that wasn't there, or trying to hide something that was. Avery sat across from him. "Did your wife mention anyone bothering her recently? Anyone from work, online, the neighborhood?" Daniel shook his head immediately, too quickly. "No, she's a teacher. She barely talks to anyone except parents and co-workers. We don't have enemies." That word again, as if saying it enough times would make him part of her story instead of part of the problem. Avery looked at him carefully. "What time did you go to sleep?" His brow furrowed. "Maybe around 11:30. I took melatonin. I've had trouble sleeping lately." "And your wife?" "She was in bed when I fell asleep." "Did you hear her talking to anyone?" He hesitated just for a second. "No. But Liam had." Liam, the boy who heard what others didn't. Officer Ramirez stayed close while Avery went back to the hallway. Liam sat on the bottom step of the staircase, the baseball bat across his knees again. He didn't look scared, he looked certain. Avery crouched slowly. "Liam," she said gently, "I know you're tired, but I need to ask you a few more questions." He nodded, eyes still unfocused, staring past her like he was replaying the night in his head. "You said your mom was whispering to someone in the room. Are you sure?" He nodded again. "I couldn't sleep. I heard a voice, not loud, like when you're hiding and don't want someone to hear you." "Was it a man's voice?" He shook his head very slowly. It didn't sound like a man or a woman. It was just someone. Avery felt the words colder than the winter draft sneaking under the front door. What were they saying? Liam hesitated, fingers tightening around the wooden bat. "Mom said not here. And then she said you promised, and then everything got quiet. I thought maybe she went downstairs. When did you call 911? I went to her room. Dad was sleeping. I didn't want to wake him because I thought she was just mad, but then I saw the paper bird. I went back to my room and called. He blinked once slowly. She told someone not to come back. The bedroom that kept its secrets forensics swept the master bedroom again. Carpets, vents, closet, underbed space, curtains, windowsills, even behind wall frames. No fingerprints. Families, no fibers out of place. No footprints except the husband's in socks. No one had been there, but someone had. Avery stood by the window, staring at the frost on the glass. Outside, patrol cars cast blue light across the perfect lawn. Detective Harris from Missing Persons entered quietly. Check the neighbors. One woman 3 houses down thought she heard something, but convinced herself it was a coyote. Security cams on the block, nothing. School teacher, no threats, no stalkers, no ex-lovers anyone knows of. Husband's co-workers say he's stable, boring even. Avery didn't smile. Boring people don't fold origami cranes and kidnap their wives. Harris crossed his arms. You think the husband's involved? I think the husband is either hiding something or truly doesn't know what he should. She walked back into the room and touched the headboard lightly with her gloved hand. Someone was in this house who didn't break in, didn't leave marks, and wasn't seen. Either the lock was pointless, or the intruder was already inside before the doors were locked. Harris frowned. You're thinking attic or crawl space. Avery didn't answer. The crawl space at 4:03 a.m. While evidence techs photographed the vents and floorboards, Avery crossed the hallway near the laundry closet. Something caught her attention, not sound, not sight, just intuition. She opened the utility door. Inside were stacked cleaning supplies, baskets, and a panel in the wall. She knelt and pressed her hand against it. Get me a flashlight. Officer Ramirez handed her one. The panel was old and painted over, but not sealed. She pried it back 2 inches. Cold air drifted out and something else. A smell, not of death, not of decay, but of iron and dust, like metal and old paper, like someone had been there recently. Ramirez swallowed. You think? Avery didn't reply. She slid the panel open wider and shone the light into the crawl space. The beam cut through the dark, running across wooden beams and insulation. 10 feet in, something rested on the dirt floor, folded, white, waiting. Another origami crane. The decision. Avery sealed the area and ordered every opening in the house to be checked. Attic, vents, crawl spaces, ducts, soffits, paneling. She called for K9 units at dawn. Whatever had taken Rebecca. Carter hadn't just walked in, it had waited, maybe watched, maybe listened, and it left messages, not mistakes. As dawn began to rise over Crestwood, turning the frost on the grass to silver, Avery looked at the evidence bag in her hand, the first crane, and then toward the crawl space where the second one lay. There wouldn't be just 2. This wasn't the beginning of a crime. It was the continuation of something that had already started long before anyone noticed, and whoever it was, they weren't finished. Sunlight crept over Crestwood like nothing had happened. The kind of quiet morning where sprinklers clicked on, garage doors opened, and kids waited for school buses with half-packed backpacks. But Renfield Lane was no longer part of that normal world. Detective Avery Quinn stood on the Carter's front lawn with a steaming paper cup of coffee she hadn't touched. Yellow tape lined the yard like a boundary between reality and something darker. 2 patrol cars idled silently. A white van from forensics sat by the curb. Neighbors watched from their blinds, pretending not to. Officer Ramirez approached with a tablet. K9, sweep of the crawl space is clean. No fibers, no hair, no prints, just the crane. Lab's already taken it in. Avery nodded but said nothing. He hesitated. You really think he was hiding inside this house? She didn't look at him. Not hiding. Waiting. The crawl space discovery inside. The forensic lights still glared across the hall. The utility closet was open. The access panel pried off, taped, and marked. They hadn't entered yet, waiting for environmental response, and the cadaver dogs just in case. The second crane now sat in an evidence bag identical to the first. Detective Harris strode in, holding his phone to his ear. Yeah, we'll need background on any paper. Folding clubs, art teachers, hobbyists. I don't care, pull juvenile records too. People don't leave origami as trophies unless it means something. He hung up and looked at Avery. Kids with his aunt now. Social services says he won't sleep, won't talk, won't drop that bat. Avery's jaw shifted. He heard the intruder. And he knows something we don't. Harris frowned. What about the husband? He's still at the precinct. I want him held there a while. For suspicion. For observation, an empty house that felt full. Avery stepped into the bedroom again. Daylight made the room uglier now, too real, too exposed. The pillow where Rebecca vanished was bare, cases bagged as evidence. She stood still, breathing shallowly, letting the silence talk. The house felt wrong, not abandoned, occupied not by someone present, but by something that had been there too long. Officer Ramirez entered again. Detective? You might want to see this. The pull-down attic ladder creaked as Avery climbed up. The air was dust, heavy, stale, lit by a single beam of a flashlight. Boxes of holiday decor, plastic containers, suitcases, old crib parts, nothing strange, until Ramirez pointed near the insulation. Behind a stack of boxes, something metallic reflected the light. Avery knelt and pulled a box aside. A small silver compact mirror lay on the insulation, not dusty, recently placed. She flipped it open. Inside the mirror's glass, faint fingerprints smudged the surface, but not like someone used it. Like someone stared into it. Ramirez swallowed. Could belong to the wife. No, Avery said quietly, look at the back. Etched into the metal, barely visible, were 3 numbers. 3176, not random, not accidental, a code or a count or a date. Avery closed the mirror and sealed it in a bag. Ramirez exhaled. How long do you think someone was up here? She didn't answer right away, then long enough to know when people sleep. The interview room. Daniel Carter sat in interview 4 at Fairfax PD headquarters, his eyes red, rimmed, his hands clasped in front of him. He had changed clothes, but still looked disoriented, like the world had shifted. Without his consent, Avery entered and took a seat across from him. He leaned forward. Did you find her? Did someone take her? Please tell me something. She ignored the desperation in his tone. You said you took melatonin. How many milligrams? He blinked. 3, maybe 5, I don't know. I just needed to sleep. Do you take it every night? No. Have you ever found things in the house moved? Items missing, strange noises? He froze just slightly. Like what? Like someone else was there. His breath hitched. Is this some kind of, are you implying? I'm implying that your wife spoke to someone in your bedroom last night while you were asleep. Daniel's face went pale. That's not possible. The doors were locked, we know. She stood slowly. You're not going home today. He stood too, panic rising. Why? I haven't done anything. I'm her husband. Avery didn't raise her voice, and whoever took her has been here before. The attic air ducked back at the house. The environmental team arrived. They sealed the attic and ran thermal scans. One of the techs called Avery back upstairs within minutes. We found fibers in air duct. What kind? The tech held up tweezers with a thin thread. It was white, synthetic, smooth, like the string used to bind stacks of paper or fold origami. The tech pointed deeper into the duct. And there's something else lodged about 4 feet inside. We're extracting it now. Avery leaned closer, careful. She said softly. As they pulled it free, the shape unraveled gently. Not a crane, a different fold, a human face made of paper, half, burned along the edges, and its eyes were holes. The burned paper face sat on the evidence table at Fairfax. Forensics like it was watching everyone in the room. Half of it was crisp and folded with precision, the other half scorched black. Edges curled like it had been pulled from fire too late. Detective Avery Quinn stood with her arms crossed, staring at it while the lab tech photographed each angle. The lab says the burn isn't accidental. The tech muttered. Somebody scorched it, deliberately controlled flame, not a random fire. Avery didn't look away. Any prints? None. Whoever folded it wore gloves. Harris walked in, holding a stack of files. We ran the numbers engraved on the mirror. 3, 17, 6. Cross-checked with Rebecca's birthday, wedding date, address history, school records, nothing links. Avery finally turned. What about case files? Harris hesitated. You're thinking cold cases. I'm thinking patterns. He dropped the files onto the table. 6 missing women in the last 9 years across Virginia and Maryland. No ransom, no bodies, no forced entry. 3 of them left behind an object, a music box, a silver button, and once a paper swan. But that was 8 years ago. Avery's jaw locked. Not a swan, she said quietly. A crane. The son who didn't sleep at his aunt's house. Liam sat on the living room couch, the baseball bat still across his knees like a piece of himself. The TV was on but muted, cycling through morning news about weather and gas prices and school board meetings like his world hadn't shattered. His Aunt Monica watched him from the kitchen doorway. "Sweetheart, you should try to rest." He didn't respond. She sat beside him carefully. "Do you want to talk about what you saw?" He finally moved his eyes slowly toward her. "I didn't see him." Monica's breath caught. "Then how do you know he's been here before?" Her skin prickled where Liam's voice stayed flat. "In the walls. Mom thought it was the pipes, but I heard breathing." She stared at him. "Did you tell your dad?" He looked down at the bat. "I told Mom." Back at the house crime scene, Tex removed the duct cover fully and ran a micro camera 6 feet into the shaft. The crawl space, attic, ductwork, and inner wall channels were mapped with thermal and structural scanners. The report came back in under an hour. Someone had moved through the house using concealed vent runs and wall gaps, spaces not meant for people but wide enough if someone starved themselves thin, or had always been small. Avery ran her flashlight across the dark duct interior. Scratches lined the metal, not random, not animal. Fingernail marks, dozens of them. She exhaled once. "They didn't break in," she said quietly. "They were already inside the structure." Ramirez grimaced. "You think he's still here?" "No," Avery said. "He's done here. He's moved on." "To where?" She turned toward the window facing the street. "Wherever she is now." The husband cracks at the precinct. Daniel Carter sat across from a different officer now, a styrofoam cup shaking in his hands. "I need to see my son, please. He's scared." The officer didn't answer. Daniel rubbed his temples. Rebecca didn't have enemies. She didn't. She wasn't the type of person someone would. He stopped. Detective Avery entered without warning. He looked up sharply. "Did you find anything? Is she alive?" She sat. No sympathy, no warmth. "Your wife ever mentioned someone watching her?" Daniel's throat bobbed. "What, no?" "Did she ever check the attic, the vents? Did she ever call a repairman about noises?" He froze again, that half-second too long. "She said the ducts rattled sometimes. I told her it was just air pressure in old houses." "Why are you asking me this?" Avery leaned forward. "Because someone was inside your walls, Daniel. Not last night, for weeks, maybe months." His face drained of what little color remained. I didn't know." She watched him closely. "Did Rebecca know?" He blinked hard, eyes glistening. She told me 2 weeks ago she felt like someone was in the house when we were gone. I said it was anxiety. I didn't think." He buried his face in his hands. "I told her she was imagining it." The third clue at 7:42 p.m. While officers were still clearing the lower vents, a K-9 unit alerted by the guest bedroom. Ramirez called for Avery. She entered. The bed was stripped, furniture moved, vents unscrewed, nothing obvious. The dog, a Belgian Malinois, pawed at the wall behind the nightstand. Tex ran a density scanner. Something thin and flat was wedged between drywall panels. They cut a clean square and pulled it out slowly. A page, not folded this time but torn from a book. Edges rough, paper yellowed with age. On it, printed in faded ink. "He is not a stranger when he is already inside." A nursery rhyme excerpt, origin unknown. And on the back, a hand, drawn symbol in pencil, a circle, inside it a crane. Inside the crane, the number 4. Avery stared at it, the third message. Ramirez swallowed. "How many more?" She didn't blink. As many as he wants. Detective Callahan didn't sleep that night. Rebecca Chen's disappearance and the origami clue wouldn't leave his head. By morning, a joint task force was already in motion. FBI cyber analysts, local PD canvassing teams, and Avery blocking off every location Liam had visited in the last 48 hours. Avery stormed into the station's briefing room at 6:45 a.m., holding a printout. "There's something you need to see," she said, dropping it in front of Callahan. It was a magnified scan of the origami paper taken from Rebecca's car window. Tiny embossed letters were barely visible in the fold pattern. Nightingale Storage Unit 207. Liam's face went pale when he saw it. He didn't speak, but his eyes said enough. Callahan didn't waste a second. Warrant issued, backup called, convoy rolling within minutes. The storage facility, Nightingale Storage, sat on the outskirts of town, a quiet industrial zone still fogged from the early morning chill. 6 patrol cars, 2 black SUV, and a forensic van lined the entrance. The manager unlocked the gate with trembling hands when they flashed the warrant. Unit 207 was at the far end. Avery positioned officers along both sides. Callahan pulled his weapon, exhaled once, then shouted, "Police, step away from the door." No sound. Bolt cutters snapped the padlock. They lifted the door. Slow, loud metal grinding up. Darkness inside. Flashlights cut through, and then a muffled whimper. Clear left, clear right. You see that. Behind a stack of old crates and tarped furniture, they found a metal chair bolted to the floor. On it, bruised, bound, and terrified, was Rebecca Chen. Alive, she couldn't speak through the gag, but tears streaked down her face at the sight of the badges. Avery gently cut the zip ties from her wrists as the medics rushed in, but it wasn't over. On a workbench nearby, a box of folded cranes, thick black twine, a burner phone still powered on, and a laminated blueprint of the entire neighborhood where Liam lived. Someone was coming back here, Avery muttered. Callahan looked at the table again. Each origami crane had a name written inside the wings. One of them Rebecca, another Avery, and one more Liam. Before anyone could process it, a clang, footsteps. The back exit. Callahan and 2 officers bolted out the rear door. A figure in a gray hoodie sprinted across the lot, vaulting a fence. "Stop, police!" Callahan shouted, chasing him through the gravel and brush. The suspect slipped near a drainage ditch. Callahan tackled him hard, cuffed him face down in the mud. When they rolled him over, Avery and the others froze. It wasn't a stranger. It was Deputy Miles Hensley, a young officer who'd quietly joined Rebecca's search team 2 days earlier. No one had suspected him. Clean record, calm demeanor, too calm. "Why her?" Liam asked, breath shaking as they walked him to the cruiser. Hensley gave a crooked smile. "They ignore quiet people, until you make them listen." Callahan didn't respond. He slammed the door shut. The wrap-up back at the station, Rebecca gave her statement under medical supervision. She'd been taken outside her apartment, sedated, and moved twice before ending up in the storage unit. Hensley refused to talk further, but his phone, vehicle, and apartment turned up 2 more origami birds with different names. Rebecca's recovery would take time, but she was safe alive, and the FBI now had a full psychological profile in motion. Outside the precinct, Liam stood under the cold morning sun, shaking but breathing. Callahan joined him quietly. "It's over," the detective said. Liam nodded. "Is it?" Callahan didn't lie. "It ends with him, not with you." Avery walked out with a half smile. "No more birds," she said softly, but as they looked at the evidence board inside 12 names still pinned with string and notes, one question lingered. Was Hensley working alone, or just the first one caught? Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.